Rob Lewis, and then back to Vince.
Coach, you were pretty critical of the defensive line last week. Did you see any improvement in the scrimmage last night?
There was a couple of guys that showed improvement to me. Prime Garland, I thought had his best practice. Jaquan Blakely continues to work hard. He'd been out a few days, but he was back. So we're taking baby steps up there, and we've got to continue to do that. So the next several practices are really big practices for those guys. We need to get out of the baby steps and probably start taking some leaps.
Coach, a follow-up on the contact tracing. Have you and the staff been able to maybe pinpoint where some of that is traced back to? Is it from contact within the facility? Is it from contact with people outside of it? Because if it's football activities that you have the contact tracing, that could be something that maybe could resurface quite a bit during the regular season. Any thoughts on that?
No, our contact tracing mainly has been roommates. So, it's I think in some states it's 6 feet without a mask for 15 minutes, but here in Knoxville, it's that we've got the biggest hurdle has been actual roommates, whether they live there or not all the time.
We'll go to Brent Hubbs and then Gustavo.
Coach, when players are out in the quarantine, what can they do? Can you work them out in any way, shape, or fashion? And how concerned are you about injuries with those guys when they're not on the practice field for 2 weeks because they've been in quarantine situations?
Well, you're talking about the non-COVID, just the folks that have been in quarantine for social tracing?
Yes, sir.
Well, you're allowed to let them work out with your strength staff, but they've got to be in a totally separate group. They can't be in the building at the same time, as anybody else. So, but there probably is something to that. Football is a unique game with unique movements. There's lots of muscle memory there. So, not being able to really practice football, there's some possibility with that for sure.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brent, if you got a follow-up.
I was just going to say, as a follow-up, how do you keep, many of the questions on here have been about contact tracing. How do you keep that from being the overriding theme with your players and that become the story with your players as you get ready to play? How do you not let that become such a distraction?
Well, it's no distraction to us. We take whoever's there each day and we work hard to make them be the best players they can possibly be. Our number one thing here is protect our players. It's the number one thing. And I'm not sure that maybe we've had a few more numbers as far as tracing. We've tested a lot, and we might have tested more than anybody else out there. I have no idea, but we've done a lot of testing to make sure that we're trying to create the proper environment, because the safety's been the number one priority for us. I realize that we're getting ready to start a football season, but we're working hard to put the best product we can out there on the field, and we've tried to follow the rules exactly as they've been presented to us, and we'll continue to do that.
Gustavo?
Following up on the Brent's question, in terms of keep you guys focused, with so many distractions off the field, but keep focus on the field, keep the mentality, keep the strength going. How you and your athletic staff keep the players focused on the field, to keep the distractions outside?
Well, I don't know how much distractions there actually been. We practice every other day. From a standpoint of demand, for a fall camp. This has been more like spring ball. So I don't think there's been distractions. I mean, we've been Zoom meetings for a very long time. So the kids that aren't here, they're in the Zoom meeting. So it's not like that they're totally away from a mental standpoint. It's probably from a team building part of it, just having a group of guys together for a long period of time to help create chemistry has been tough to do.
We'll go to Patrick Brown and then back to Trey Wallace.
Jeremy, you mentioned, I think you said the other day you guys weren't going to be able to get all 25 practices in. You guys went back to back today. Do you try to squeeze in as many practice days as you can, or do you kind of continue to go practice and take a day off as you kind of stay in camp mode? And do you have a timetable at all on maybe when you'll have most of your team back practicing again?
We definitely probably will not reach 25 practices. I think it's important that we're efficient, with our practice time. From a numbers standpoint, I'm not sure that we're ready to go fall camp back to back days. That probably would do more harm than good. So we want to make sure we're efficient so we can keep guys healthy and continue to improve as a football team.
Trey?
Jeremy, have you talked to other SEC head coaches, maybe the ones that you get along with, about their procedures and what they're having to deal with when it comes to contact tracing at their schools? And have you gotten any feedback from maybe the 2 to 3 to 4 guys that you might speak with?
Who asked that question?
That would be Trey Wallace. Yes, sir.
Now, Trey, I talk to these guys quite a bit.
Okay.
But I can assure you, if there was some kind of competitive advantage that somebody else would get, they sure wouldn't be sharing it.
I understand that, but Will Muschamp came out and talked about his 12 guys that were contact traced. So, look, I'm sure there's one guy you at least get along with in this conference.
I played golf with Kirby Smart. He's the only person I ever seen that he always finds his ball in the woods. Always.
Okay, so there's no competitive. Okay, I got you. I feel you. I appreciate the honest answer.
All right, we'll go a couple more questions here. We'll go back to David Ubben and then to Gustavo.
Jeremy, big picture, as name, image, and likeness come to college football, what's been your message to guys about monetizing that when they have that ability, when that rule comes into play?
Well, there's lots of things that go into that rule that nobody knows about yet. There's some things that's got to get voted on. There's got to be some clarity from a state level, federal level, and really through the NCAA exactly what you can do. So we're working hard as a university to be ready for that when all this stuff is finalized. But when it comes to recruiting, that's not really been a sales pitch for us.
Last question, Gustavo.
Coach, the ACC starts tonight. Other conferences already start of the weekend. What have you been watching from those games that you might want to observe, you want to learn from other schools that you can implement at Tennessee? They're having to face the same problems and the same issues that you're dealing with. So what kind of things you're kind of watching on those games that you don't want to repeat the mistakes of other schools playing already?
Can you ask that again, Gustavo?
Of course. No, what I say, of course, there are already games been playing college football. What kind of mistakes you don't want to repeat if you are watching those games, if their teams are following the same protocol, the same issues that you're dealing with?
Well, one thing that we've tried to do as a staff is make sure that we've had guys that have watched those games. I've not watched any. And so to see if there's things that come up, so obviously this is it's a new experience for everybody involved. So, and we'll get a chance this weekend to watch in, right? So we'll definitely be doing that, or we'll have somebody on our staff be doing that. Can I ask you a question? Have they found that tiger yet?
I don't think so.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
I found, my wife called me today and I missed my noon walk because I was concerned about that tiger.
I think it's hanging out with Jimmy Himes.
You guys have a good day. See ya.
On
Thank
that
you,
note,
Coach.
good night.
Bill, any word of credentials yet, or still not?
Yes, there will be.